Hello and welcome to Energizing Habits, simple strategies for a sustainable, healthy lifestyle. I'm your host, Vicki Cleary, and I guide ambitious women just like you to find more focus, more energy, and more productivity so they can thrive, whether it's in business or in life, all by tapping into sustainable habit change around nutrition, movement, sleep, and stress management. Are you ready? Here we go. Hello and welcome back, my ambitious friends. Today I'm kicking off a 4-part series that I have called Plan Your Health and Wellness Like a Project Manager. So many of you all know, if you've been following and listening for a bit, that I am a project manager. I'm a certified PMP, and I use this knowledge, this education, this training in my career, but I also use it for my own health and wellness, and I use it to help my clients in their health and wellness. So this series, I want to share with you how to plan your health and wellness like a project manager. So we are going to take a look at turning your annual wellness goals into actionable plans. Because if you can't take action, how much of that goal is really going to get done, right? So we're going to look at how to take your annual plan, your goal, and break it down into quarterly goals, a little bit smaller chunk of goals, and an action plan, and then turn it into daily, weekly activities to integrate new habits into your lifestyle for long-term sustainable change, right? We're not in this for the short term. We want to make these changes so they can last, hopefully, our lifetime, right? So that we can feel better for a while. So in this first episode of the series, we're taking a look at the quarterly plan or a 90-day plan, right? 3 months. Taking that larger plan again and looking at how to make progress in a 3-month window. And then evaluating your progress from the past quarter and create next quarter's plan and just build momentum toward your goals. So this is how I coach my clients, and it's honestly why I created the framework of my Energy to Thrive Project one-on-one coaching program, which through my beta program that I did last year and trying to evolve that program, it is now a one-on-one program. So it can start anytime as long as I have space for clients. So I can only take on so many clients at a given time. Just to make sure that I can make sure each one has the appropriate and high level of support. So, if that's something that you're interested in, I'll have the link below. That's the Energy to Thrive Project one-on-one coaching program. It's a 4-month program. But anyway, it's the framework that I use. This is what we're talking about here, right? Creating this plan and bringing it down. So that's, again, why I created this 4-part series on how to plan your health and wellness like a project manager. Looking at each quarter, month, week, and day, and then recapping on what metrics to measure and review. So that's going to be the 4th episode. And this is how we are building in implementation, accountability, and feedback loops so that you can not only have a plan, but take consistent action to reach your wellness goals, transform your health and your energy. Now, if you find this series helpful, I want to hear from you. So do me a favor. If you are watching on YouTube, thumbs up, like the episode, and leave a comment below. You can leave a review, what have you. You can also take a screenshot of the episode that you're watching. So again, it's a 4-part series, but you can take a screenshot of the episode, post it in your Instagram stories, and tag me at Uplift Healthy Lifestyle. I would love to hear about how this series is making an impact for you in your health and wellness and in your day-to-day energy level. So how you're taking these tools, tips, and tricks and making them work in your habit change. Okay, so why have a 90-day or a quarterly wellness plan? Well, ambitious women like us like to set big, ambitious goals, right? We tend to dream big, and often our business activities take over our time and we lose sight of our health and wellness. Our bodies and minds suffer over time until we get so tired of being tired that we decide to do something. By that time, we are so overwhelmed with the changes we want to make that we aren't sure where to start or how to carve out time to move forward. So you resort to trying a variety of plans and strategies, maybe something you found on the internet or in a magazine, whatever the hot new reality TV star is doing, just to see what sticks, right? We're throwing spaghetti at the wall and not really sure, how it's going to do, but we're going to try it and see. Things like cleanses, low carb diets, paleo, fasting, keto. What about cardio, weight training, high intensity interval training, yoga, walking, or breathing exercises, mindfulness, journaling, meditation, getting more sleep, getting up early? You get the picture, right? There are so many things. Now, these can all be great strategies, right? If you were to pull out one of those things that I just mentioned, that totally has a place, or it could have a place in your plan. But let's be strategic about it, right? Let's make sure that the thing that you choose actually aligns with the goals and where you're trying to go. So again, needs to be clear. How does that thing support your goals? And it should also be clear if it's a long-term strategy or short-term, right? There are some things that we might try, like a cleanse, for example. It might be nice to try, but it's a short-term, right? You're not going to have that cleanse protocol be your long-term strategy, especially like think about a juice cleanse, right? You've heard 3D, 5-day juice cleanses. But a juice cleanse is not a long-term strategy. You're not going to only drink juice for the rest of your life, right? So we want to be clear whether or not the initiative, the strategic thing that we're doing is short-term, long-term, and how it supports your goals. Now, overhauling your lifestyle, making a lot of changes at once can be very difficult and stressful while trying to manage your career, spend time with your family and friends, and live a life that you love, right? What if you could be more strategic, sustainable, and efficient when working towards your health and wellness goals? That sounds pretty good to me, right? This is why project managers break down the big goal into smaller, more manageable milestones, and then from there, even smaller, into manageable actions. And this is why a quarterly or a 90-day plan is so useful. 90 days is short enough to stay focused, but it's long enough to stay on track, to track significant progress towards your goals. And quarterly planning allows us to break down that big goal into smaller chunks, and it also allows us to be more agile, more flexible, so that if something isn't working, we can make adjustments without negatively impacting the long-term goal, right? So if you had a year-long goal to let's say to lose weight, for example, right? And you've got this one thing that you're doing, and you go through the whole year trying to make that thing work, and you get to the end of the year and you didn't reach your goal. And then you got to start over the next year, right? So breaking this thing into quarterly pieces gives us shorter windows and more frequently to take a look at what's going on, whether it's working, and how can we adjust. The 90-day plan becomes your roadmap or your guardrails so that you know what to do on a regular basis. It helps keep you on task when those shiny new one-off health gimmicks show up to distract you. So your brain loves new and shiny things, right? So you have to be very intentional about sticking with a consistent plan over time. And the quarterly plan is just one component of achieving the goal. You also have to have other tools in place, line up your accountability and support, and take consistent action. So we're going to take a look at how to break down an annual goal. And you can learn more about this actually in my Resolution Revolution Masterclass. I'll have a link to that below. It's a recording that's available, so you can check that out. It was live at the end of December, but now the recording's available for you. So nearly all of my clients say that they want more energy. Okay, so we're gonna use an example here about energy. My clients tend to understand how many of their choices and habits are affecting their bodies and minds and their energy, but it can be a real challenge to implement lasting change, stay consistent when there are so many factors affecting their energy. Some have careers, others are entrepreneurs, some have families, some don't, some are empty nesters, so they had kids, but they're no longer in the house. So there's lots of factors that we're having to work around, but also there are so many ways to have more energy, right? If I said, I want to have more energy, what you think I'm saying and what I think I'm saying could be two different things. So first, we create the long-term goal for the year. And again, you can get support with that in my Resolution Revolution Masterclass. But of course, the more smart you can make that goal, the better. Remember, specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-bound. So if we say we want to have more energy, how do we know if we achieved it? What is it? What's better? It's better than what? This is where you might have typically just tried getting more sleep. Like I'll just need to sleep more and then I'll have more energy. Or try to eat more vegetables, right? Like, having some clean fuel maybe will give me some more energy. Or any number of other things while not being fully dedicated to a singular strategy on what to do to get more energy. And not just a singular strategy, but like a collective of strategies of different tactics that all feed into the bigger goal. Now, this also might be where you jumped into a lifestyle overhaul nutrition plan and try to completely change what you eat with one trip to the grocery store. You know what I'm talking about. You filled your cart with groceries and you're like, I'm going to eat all these vegetables this week. But without understanding how much more time and effort it would take to prepare all that food compared to what you were normally doing just yesterday, right? Or you might be trying this intense new workout plan that requires lots of time working out, whether it's in the gym or off doing things. And I don't know about you, but who has time to spend hours, an hour plus in the gym every day to try and get results? So while yes, you can do these things, but how much time do you have to spend? Do you have the bandwidth to suddenly spend so much time cooking or time in the gym? And usually we don't, right? I mean, I have a career. I have my coaching practice. I have a high schooler, right? Like we're doing stuff all the time, some way, shape, or form. So trying to make a big sweeping change is a challenge. And I can tell you that for sure, because all the times that I've done the Whole30, while it's a great thing to do, and I've done it on an annual basis for several years, that month is a real struggle in terms of like getting organized, having everything ready that I need. It takes a lot more time. So I speak from experience when I tell you this. So while yes, you can do all these things, but you may not have the bandwidth to do that. And that's usually where we get stuck or give up, right? Because we don't know how to create the bandwidth or how to make these big sweeping changes or how to make them last. This is where we break down from a planning standpoint. This is where we're going to break down these goals, these things into more reasonable, actionable steps that we can take in the time we can set aside to have available without stressing ourselves out. Now, if you've never done this before, this is where tapping into someone else's experience can truly make a difference in getting you started on the right path, or on a path, right? Right is kind of relative, I suppose. But you can tap into their knowledge and what kind of effort, what time it might take to make these things happen. Somebody who's been down that road can at least give you some insights that you may not have normally had. So let's take a look at what a quarterly or a 90-day plan might look like for a client who wants to have more energy. First, we have to define what having more energy means for them with that SMART goal. So it could be something like, I will evolve my routines and habits so that I can wake up without the snooze button on weekdays or work days, and I don't hit that afternoon energy slump. And I want to be able to come home for work and spend time with my kids at least 3 days a week. So this is what more energy looks like for this person. And we will feel that we have evolved this plan by, let's say, December 31st, right? So we've got an end goal. So we're in January, that's December, so it's almost a year to work through this. Now, while the components of this goal aren't numeric per se, right? Like, I want to be able to wake up without the snooze button. There's not like, well, 50% snooze button, 100%, yes or no, right? You can track that, and how many days a week or how many work days a week did you actually wake up without having to hit the snooze. Same with whether or not you hit the afternoon slump. And then the 3 days of the week, having the energy that when you come home, you can play with your kids. Now, as a parent, of course, you may want all 5 days to be able to come home and hang out with your kids. But in terms of having a reasonable target, if you're at 0 right now and you're coming home with no energy to do anything, maybe it's 1 day, right? But for example purposes, we said 3. So they're not quantifiable in terms of like tracking measures during the day, but it's a yes or no. You can track whether or not you did the thing, and that you can quantify. So then we're going to take a look at all the ways that we can achieve this. In my masterclass, the Resolution Revolution, we talk about how to break down your goals. But what we're looking at here is increasing energy, and there are so many ways that we can do that, right? Lots of contributing factors, things within our sleep, stress management, nutrition, movement, even our mindset. All of these things are contributing factors to how much energy we have in a given day. Now, what habits can you think of in these areas that you aren't currently doing that you could improve on, right? This is where you start making a list, all the different things. Once you've identified a variety of actions, you can decide which ones you'll focus on for the first quarter. So your first 90 days, your first quarterly plan, what are you going to focus on? And, just to start chipping away at this. For sleep, it could be that you go to bed at a consistent time each night, right? So remember, you want to keep it small and actionable. We're not trying to overhaul everything at once. What's one thing that we can focus on for the next 30 days? So each of these is a 30-day focus on that one habit so that we can integrate it, so we can create consistency, so it becomes a part of our lives, and it just becomes something that we do, right? So for sleep, it could be that consistent bedtime each night. For stress management, maybe we're looking at adding daily breathing exercises. And for nutrition, maybe it's focusing on hydration. Now, I recommend to my clients focusing and implementing one new action each month so that they have that time, again, to build the consistency, get it integrated in their routines. So quarter one could be focusing on that consistent bedtime, right? And the second month, the first month is consistent bedtime. Second month could be adding the daily breathing exercises. And that third month could be hydrating, right? Making sure that we're drinking the recommended number of ounces of water per our body weight each day. Now, in the second quarter, right, when you sit down to do your reflection and evaluation and planning for the second quarter, you could pick 3 more habits. One for each month, and you've already got a bank of habits to choose from, and you can decide if you need to add more. So you can see how we're keeping these actions focused on driving towards the goal, but we're also keeping them simple, actionable, and achievable, right? And then over time, you can start to increase complexity if there's a more complex component to that habit. Now, you might be thinking, wow, it seems like a really slow way to get to the goal. It does take time to implement new habits that you want to keep for the long term. Think about how long, I thought I might have to sneeze. Think about how long you have been going without these habits being a part, or with maybe a quote unquote bad habit that's happening, that's causing a lack of energy, right? In order to unravel the bad habits and instill a good habit, right? A positive habit that gives you more energy. Those things take time. This is why just like overhauling your life and dumping a bunch of strategies at once doesn't work. And, there's so many things to focus on. Like you can't focus all that energy that intensely for so many things in a given time period. So we focus on one and we really get it integrated. When it becomes something you just do, then we move on to the next. Roughly a month, and for some people and some habits, it takes less time, and sometimes it takes more time. Some of it depends on the habit. It depends on your current lifestyle. Now, especially when you're already busy with career, business, family, this is where it's just a level more of complication, complexity when it comes to implementing these habits. If you're a single person, for instance, and you're updating what you eat, well, you don't have to factor in that you're cooking for a 3-year-old who's a picky eater, or a spouse who maybe isn't fully on board, because I have clients who aren't fully on board with what my client is ready to try eating, right? So there's lots of different things to factor in. So you can move faster in some cases, but the key is feeling confident about the habit being a solid part of your routine. And again, it's really dependent on being intentional and creating consistency in that habit. The more days out of that month that you do the habit, the more likely it is to become part of just the way you do things. Okay, so now we've talked about why a quarterly plan is so powerful. Let's talk about how to create your first 90-day quarterly plan. So first, document your annual goals, right? Your 12-month goals. When it comes down to your health and wellness, it's best to keep this a short list so you don't overwhelm yourself. And especially knowing you likely have goals in other areas of your life. You probably have career goals or goals for your business or family or social life or what have you. There's lots of different things floating around. So let's keep this list small. And of course, you could just keep with that, I want more energy, right? Which is kind of a bucket statement, if you will, that you will need to define further. And that's where creating that SMART goal comes into play, keeping it measurable and actionable so you know when you've achieved each one. And as I mentioned earlier, if you're focusing on creating more energy, more focus, more productivity, there are 5 key areas to focus on. There's the change management or mindset. There's sleep, stress management, nutrition, and movement. All of these things, there's tons of habits in each one that you could try to implement for the purpose of creating more energy, right? And really, having more energy is just another way to say that I really just want to feel darn good. I want to feel healthy from the inside out so I can do the things I want to do, right? All right. Now, understanding your goal for the year will help you determine what strategies to start with and what to plan for. All of the habits in these focus areas start with support a healthier lifestyle, right? But if your goal is to have more energy, what you start with may look a bit different than if your goal is to lose weight, okay? So you can even break the 12-month goal into smaller quarterly goals. If you aren't sure where to start at this point, you can do it after you've thought through these 5 key areas. And give each quarter kind of a theme or a mini goal, right? So great, energy, I want more energy. Okay, fine. So we think about all the different things. We know that there's 5 key areas. How do you want to break it down, right? So you can have one quarter be stress management, one quarter be nutrition, or you can mix it up. You've got 4 weeks in a month. I'm sorry. You have 3 months in a quarter. I was already shifting into the next episode. You have 3 months in a quarter. That's 3 different goals. You can pick from 3 different areas if you want to. Okay, what do these 5 areas entail? So I like to focus on change management first. So if you're not in the right mindset, it can be very hard to be successful at implementing change. In fact, I just watched a Tony Robbins it's the 5-day challenge that he does, right? The Unshakable Challenge. So he talks about in the first day, he says, there are three ways that you can do change. And the most important one is having that state of mind, that mindset, because from there you can decide, what your story is, and from there what the strategy is to support it. The mindset is the most important thing to affect change. You're not in the right mindset, it's very hard to be successful at implementing change. The this focus area sets you up for success before you start anything else. And the skill set, so when we think about like things we're going to do, you've got these key areas, and there's some skill sets underneath there, and then there are these practices that break down into daily actions. So it's kind of like this little hierarchy of activity. So under change management, or the mindset piece, underneath that are two areas. You've got emotional regulation. I'm sorry, there's three areas: emotional regulation, self-awareness, and having a growth mindset. You could choose habits such as seeking connection with people who have similar goals as you, or identifying your values to help inform your upcoming choices, and reframing, turning failures into a first attempt in learning, as in it's just feedback that you can learn from, right? It's not a negative. Yes, it might feel negative in the moment, but it's a learning point. So under the change management or mindset, you can think about some habits that might feed into those things. I also like to move from there into sleep, because most people aren't getting enough quality sleep, and it's throwing off so many things, right? Their immune function, their hormones, the weight, the mood, the energy, right? When it comes to sleep, you can focus your efforts in one of two skill sets: getting deep sleep, and getting enough sleep. So deep sleep is what truly repairs and restores your brain and your body. And these actions that you employ here are all about winding down and preparing your body and mind for sleep. Getting enough sleep is about setting yourself up for more deep sleep, right? So actions here could be making sure that you're getting enough hours of sleep, creating consistency in your bedtime, and building an energizing morning routine. The habits around deep sleep or enough sleep, or what habits around these things could you practice and create consistency around for the next 30 days? So you would think about how you might break that down. And it could be determining your bedtime based on your wake time, so that you're getting a consistent number of hours of sleep each night. Could be getting sunlight directly into your eyes as early in the day as possible, just to help shut down melatonin so you can feel more awake and energized. So these are just a couple of ideas, right? So make sure you brainstorm other habits that you could try to improve your sleep or your mindset that we just talked about above. Now, after sleep, I like to guide my clients through stress management. The reason I like to start with sleep and stress management is that when our bodies and our minds are in a constant state of sympathetic or stress response, it's very difficult to affect change. So mindset, and then being this in the stressed out state, right? When you get your body out of that, to a more neutral, balanced state, you are much more likely to see clearly, make better decisions, more effectively implement other changes. And your body, your physiology is not fighting the change as well, right? Your hormones are more balanced. And so it can be a little bit more malleable to change. So two key skill sets that you can focus under here are tolerating stress, meaning increasing your resiliency, and setting yourself up to better manage stress by planning, prioritizing, and preparing. So this could be implementing daily breathing exercises to help calm your nervous system, or planning your week so you know what barriers you may have to overcome and how you can be flexible working around them when practicing your habits. Okay, after stress management, I like to take my clients through nutrition updates. Nutrition updates, habits, there are tons of them that you could focus on, right? So a lot of it's going to depend on where that client is, where you are personally on your nutrition journey, what kinds of foods you're already eating, why are you eating the food you're eating, right? But we dial it in so that you can move forward toward your goals. Now, there are three key areas that you could focus on here. That's eating a balanced plate of nutrients. So that's where it starts to get into the macros. Choosing better foods, right? Making better decisions, and eating well on a consistent basis. So how do you formulate the mindset around nutrition so you can make better decisions? Now, back to the earlier example from above, this might be focusing on hydration, and drinking the recommended amount of water for your body on a consistent daily basis. That's just one example. Or, so much protein per day, so many servings of protein per day, or any of the other macros and this type of thing. And I could probably go on and on about nutrition, but I'm going to keep it short, right? So after nutrition, I like to take my clients through optimizing their movement habits. And there's two key areas here. That's moving often and moving well. It's really pretty simple. So habits can include spending more time moving on a daily or weekly basis, or even focusing on recovery, right? Not all movement has to be so go, 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 hardcore, all the things. It could be like a restorative yoga class, right? And finding the balance in how you do this movement. So you can here also decide, do I want to spend time in the gym? How much time do I want to spend in the gym? Can I find other ways to move my body on a regular basis? So again, brainstorming the habits that you can implement under each of these categories and aligning those that best get you started towards your overall goal. Okay, now, what resources and support do you need within this quarter to, what do you need to be able to support you and keep you moving forward? So now that you have this big list of habits to implement, you can take a look at what the resources and support needs are. Are there any tools or apps or equipment you can implement and track these habits? Is there any knowledge that you need to be able to implement them? Can you ask your family and friends to support you? Can you get outside support, like from a group doing something similar, or from a coach? Is there anything that you need to put in place to help you be successful? And again, this is where working with a coach can help you. You may not know what you need to be successful in these habits, but a coach can help support you with their knowledge and help identify risks and hold you accountable. Okay, now we've got our habits. We understand what's going to need to execute these habits. Let's create a plan, right? So again, you have a whole list. We're not going to do them all at once, right? That's the key. That would be taking us back to that stressful lifestyle overhaul that we're trying to avoid so we don't burn ourselves out. We want to set ourselves up for success. So we want to pace ourselves because we are looking for long-term sustainable change. So we're going to map out the first quarter. What are you going to focus on in month 1, month 2, and month 3? This is about layering small, actionable habits into our existing routine and creating consistency until they are fully integrated and becoming just something that we do. Now, you could think of this as a timeline of 30 days. Each habit has a 30-day timeline, each habit per month over a 90-day span of time. And as you think about which habit to start with, think about, what do you need most right now? What key area has the potential to make a huge difference, right? Change management, sleep, stress management, nutrition, or movement. Or which habit is an easy win for you right now that can help you just like take action by taking action, right? Where can you get that easy win? Build up that little bit of confidence to keep you moving. Also, think about whether there are any roadblocks or risks in the next 30 days while you're implementing certain habits, right? Is there something that can derail? If you choose a specific habit, what is coming up that could derail you? For example, if you have a cruise coming up in month 1 and you haven't done any of the nutrition work, trying to implement better food choices while faced with rich, indulgent food could be more of a challenge that you want to start with. On the other hand, it could help you make better food choices while you're on the cruise and avoid gaining that extra 5 to 10 pounds that most people gain on a cruise because the food is so delicious, right? And it's always available. So those are a couple like ways to think about it. How are you going to weigh what habit makes sense for you to start with? And as you think about what habit you'll implement for the month, decide what that looks like, right? What existing habit or routine will you stack the new habit with? Are you implementing it in the morning, in the daytime or evening, or throughout the day, right? Multiple points during the day. What does that cadence look like? If there's a quantity, like how much water you drink or how many minutes of movement, how much per day and how much per week. Then decide how you're going to track that habit. Where and how will you log it? What reminder can you set up to help you, right? Is it a phone reminder? Is it sticky notes posted everywhere? Again, that goes back to those tools that you might need to help set you up for success. It could even be wearable technology, right? Like an Apple Watch or a Fitbit. And there's tons of other things on the market, right? But something like that will track specific metrics automatically. And I'll talk more about the KPIs or some key performance indicators and metrics in the upcoming episodes of this series. But you get the idea. You're starting to define, right? This is for my project managers out there, that WBS dictionary. So the WBS breaks out the habits you're going to do month 1, 2, and 3. The dictionary, we're defining what it is that habit looks like, how we are actually implementing it. And then as you look at month 2 and 3, you'll need to decide, do you want to use the whole quarter to focus on one key area, again, change management, sleep, et cetera, or do you want to hit a different key area each month to kind of creating a little bit more well-rounded feel? There's no right or wrong, right? It's really about what you need to move toward your goals so that you can feel better and have more energy. Okay, so now at this point, you've got your goal, and let's say you've gone through that first quarter. So you've got a quarter under your belt, you're looking at the next quarter, it's time to evaluate, right? So evaluation is a key component to any project, especially when it comes to your health and wellness, right? So when you get to these subsequent quarters, you have that full list of habits from the goal setting exercise. You can keep adding to that list, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel. That's another project management tip. Don't reinvent the wheel. Have that bank of habits that you can pull out from later without having to spend more time. Now, however, you do need to evaluate your quarter, the habits that you implemented, and the consistency that you've created. So you're actually going to be doing this on a weekly and a monthly basis, and I'll talk about that in the upcoming episodes, but you're going to use that weekly, monthly data and also an overall look at the quarter to determine how you want to proceed for the next quarter. Some questions that you can reflect on before creating next quarter's plan. What worked? What didn't work? Well, what roadblocks did you encounter? What support did you have or didn't have that you needed? What do you need to modify? So if something didn't go quite as well as it planned, or something else came up that you didn't foresee, how can you modify? How can you tweak the implementation of that goal? Do you need to continue focusing on one of those habits from quarter 1 so that you can create better consistency and better integrate it? And then what makes sense to focus on next, right? So if you're coming up with a complete new set of 3 habits, 1 per month, or, I'm really not dialed into my hydration yet, so I'm going to carry that into month 1 and keep focusing on it. So it's all about what happened in the previous quarter. What are you going to take into the next quarter? What are the best practices and lessons learned that you can draw from, right? Remember, there's no failure. There's just a first attempt in learning. Now, of course, when you are planning quarter 2, just as you did with quarter 1, you're layering in these new habits on top of the existing habits and routines. Unless you completely find that a habit is not serving you, then if it's serving you, right, and you just need to keep doing it, then you keep doing it. When you're ready, you're layering on. And that is how you start to affect change over time. It just compounds itself, right? Okay, there you have it. This is how I plan my wellness quarterly, like a project manager. And the key is breaking down the larger goal and building in tracking, accountability, and that retrospection. So I invite you to stay tuned next week, where I'll talk about planning your wellness and your health monthly, like a project manager. So it's taking a little bit different view at our plan and our evaluation. And then, of course, what we're tracking. Now, your energizing habit to try today or this week is to set aside some time and create your plan for the next 3 months. Now, if you haven't done any kind of goal setting or anything, take a look at that masterclass, Resolution Revolution. If you already have your goal, use this episode to help support you as you come up with that 90-day plan. Once you know what you're going to implement over the next 30 days, right, that month one, then it's time to start taking action. Okay. And I would love to hear from you. So once you've determined what habit you're going to be, share, put it in the notes below, in the comments below, or put it on your stories and tag me, because I would love to hear how you're taking action, what it is that you're focusing on. Now, if you feel like you need more support, reach out to me, right? You can schedule your free energy optimization session where we talk about your goals and create a mini action plan. We look at one habit in each: sleep, stress management, nutrition, and movement. So that link is below. I'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and schedule that if you feel like you need that support. That is what I have for you today. Again, if you found this episode valuable, like it, leave a review, share it with someone else who might find it valuable. And don't forget about your screenshot on Instagram. Tag me at Uplift Healthy Lifestyle. All right. Have an energized day.